What's going on with the debt ceiling right now? Is there going to be a vote? How do you feel the direction that Congress is in right now? We're kind of waiting to see if the Fed's going to do anything else. What do you think Congress should do about getting control of federal spending?
Well, I think we have to have some guardrails. We've got to have some remedies to this overspending. We have a $31.4 trillion national debt now. Much greater than when you were serving, Congressman. And we've got to find a reasonable, a sensible, and responsible solution regarding raising the debt ceiling. Well, we simply cannot. If we approve increase this debt ceiling without spending controls, then we're going to have nothing but another debt crisis that is going to be placed on our calendar. We just simply cannot. And look, I know you're a Democrat, but after passing the largest debt limit increase in American history last time under Ms. Pelosi, it took only a little over a year, and then we've got the federal credit card maxed out again. So we have to have some.
I know the people back home, and in your district, have to be concerned about, can the government keep putting things on a credit card and not discipline the spending? I understand that. And as you point out, you could go back to 2001 when the debt ceiling was at $5.8 trillion. Right now, $31.4 trillion. And during that time, we've seen the Iraq War put on the credit card, the debt crisis put on the credit card. Some say that the current problem with with Ukraine is adding to government spending concerns. So what would you change in terms of the direction the country's going on with respect to imposing fiscal discipline?
Well, again, we've got to have a bipartisan solution because we have the House, the Democrats continue to have the Senate. And some of the other things in the last 24 months, under the Democratic Party, and that is Joe Biden's tenure, his first 2 years, when the Democrats had the House and the Senate, they have increased our 10-year spending trajectory by $10 trillion. The interest on this debt alone, 10 years from now, will reach $1.2 trillion. And that's more than the current funding for defense, health services, and veterans combined. We simply cannot.
Go ahead.
We simply cannot continue this type. We simply cannot continue this.
Do you see any point at which the Republican conference says, look, we're not going to go for any kind of increase in the debt ceiling?
Well, it's hard for me to say that. I can't speak for my colleagues, but I can tell you that we know that we have to pay our bills. We know that we have to, keep our credit rating up. But on the other hand, as I just said, I know that I personally did not vote for any of these increases, these multi-trillion-dollar bills over the last 24 months. Now, some Republicans did so, and that's why I think Joe Biden tends to say, hey, this was bipartisan, but they were a very small minority. Most Republicans and most of my constituents are very, very concerned that we have a debt that is currently bigger than the entire U.S. Economy, and we have to have something done about this if we're going to save this country for our children and our grandchildren.
Well, I know that also, in addition to your concerns that you've expressed about the debt ceiling, you've also been concerned about the manner in which the Hunter Biden laptop story seems to have been suppressed. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. I'm very, very concerned that we have the very strong possibility that the Biden family has been compromised. I think the evidence is, there's no proof yet, but the evidence is certainly showing. We've had testimony from people who actually did business with the Bidens, including this Mr. Bobulinski. I think there's been a lot of shady dealings that's been going on with China, with Russia, with Ukraine. And I think that it's very concerning to me that that President Biden and especially his son Hunter is not cooperating. Hunter Biden rejected House Republicans' record request. He said that it, quote, lacks legitimacy, lacks a legitimate legislative purpose, I think. And this is preposterous coming from the person who potentially compromised his own father, the President of the United States.
Well, you know,
and we now know.
You raise an interesting question, and that is, as you're aware, on the eve of the 2020 election, the New York Post published a story about the laptop, and the FBI, consulting with Twitter, did a job to suppress the story. Do you have any feelings about the role of the FBI in that?
Yes, I have very, very strong feelings about that.
Tell me.
We know now that the Hunter Biden laptop story was real. We know that Twitter and Intel officials were purposefully spinning it as Russian disinformation to hide the truth from voters before the 2020 election. And the FBI was using Twitter to do what the government could not legally do, and that is to limit free speech. This is an enormous scandal. I think one of the greatest in American history. Well, this is still being covered up.
Thank you so much for being on our network. And just know you're always welcome to come back. Thank you very much, sir, for being on. We'll look forward to talking.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
When we